The text came as I poured my coffee. I didn't hear the chime, but I saw the screen light up. One message. Evan. Hey, Mom. We're keeping dinner intimate this year. Just me, Claire, and some close friends. We'll catch up after the holidays. That was it. No punctuation at the end. Just the soft slap of exclusion disguised as courtesy. I set the mug down. The sound of ceramic on wood echoed in the quiet kitchen. I didn't speak. I didn't reply. I read it once, then again, then a third time. Intimate. That was Claire's word. Evan used to say family dinner. Now it was intimate, meaning I wasn't needed, I wasn't wanted. I didn't cry. That was the surprising part. Nothing welled up. No heat in my face. No sting behind the eyes. Just stillness. Heavy and sharp like a blade resting flat on the skin. I moved the phone aside and opened the laptop. The screen flickered to life with a faint hum. My hands didn't shake. My breathing stayed slow. The first file I clicked wasn't email, not photos, not memories. It was labeled Trust Discrepancies, updated 2 weeks ago. I scrolled past the notes I'd compiled for months, entries I never shared, not even with Jasmine. Transfers, withdrawals, dates, names. My father's voice echoed in my head. Don't let money come between blood. He never said that when Evan needed a bailout, or when Claire maxed out my emergency card just for points. Only when I started asking where the repayments were. Evan used to show up when he needed help with taxes, leases, Claire's business plans. Now I was out. Not even a seat in the corner. Not even a plate of leftovers. I clicked into my banking app. The numbers loaded. Savings, retirement, emergency. I skimmed past them all. Then, in a separate tab, the mortgage transfer for Blackwood Ridge still sat pending under last review. They didn't know I'd seen the listing. 3 months ago, Evan called it his future lodge, showed me photos, sent mock-ups with his name on the signage. He never closed. Financing fell apart. No one told me. I found out through the realtor's assistant, who happened to be Jasmine's cousin. I stared at the screen, not angry, not sad, just finished. This wasn't a mistake. It was the conclusion to a long, slow removal. Claire had been pulling him one way for years. I'd just been too tired to pull back. Instead of replying to Evan's text, I closed the app. I didn't scroll. I didn't check the time. I just opened the financial dashboard. The one Jasmine helped me build. The one I hadn't touched since September. The numbers were still there. They always had been. The cursor blinked in the corner like it was waiting for permission. I gave it. And then I drove. I passed their house without tapping the brakes. The lights were on. The tree I bought last year blinked soft white through the window. Claire's SUV sat in the driveway, cleaned and polished like they were expecting company. Just not me. I kept my hands at 10 and 2. Straight. Steady. No second glance. The street dipped slightly, and I let gravity take me forward. Past the mailbox Evan never fixed. Past the walk I used to shovel. Past the front door I helped paint one summer when he still called me first. No one looked out. No one waved. I didn't expect them to. The road turned slick as the houses faded behind me. Trees thickened. Houses thinned. The snow grew deeper. My tires groaned on the incline, but I didn't slow down. Half an hour later, I reached the turnoff. The road to Blackwood Ridge wasn't paved, just gravel under snow winding between pine and rock like it had something to hide. I pulled the truck over before the gate. The land stretched wide in every direction. White. Silent. Waiting. I opened the glove box and pulled out the manila folder. Blackwood Ridge, County Bank release. It was stamped, signed, notarized. Effective last week. I hadn't told anyone. Not Jasmine, not even the banker. It wasn't revenge. Not exactly. It was insurance. Evan had called it his future. Said it was going to be a sanctuary for the family. I let him talk. I smiled. I even helped him draft the pitch deck. He never knew the bank looped me in when his financing failed. He walked away. I walked in. I closed the folder and stared at the gate. It creaked slightly in the wind, but didn't move. Just stood there waiting to be claimed. I pressed the accelerator. The tires gripped hard, biting through the snow as the truck rolled forward. Over the crest, the house came into view. Silent, cold, still, but not empty. The porch sagged a little. The windows were dark. A forgotten "coming soon" sign leaned against the front steps. The paint had faded, but the letters still read, "Caleb's Lodge," slapped across cheap wood like a promise someone made with no plan to keep it. I parked. The engine ticked as it cooled. I didn't get out right away. Just sat there with my hands on the wheel. My fingers flexed once, twice. Then I popped the door and stepped into the wind. The snow hit like a slap. Clean, brutal, real. I pulled my coat tight and walked to the door. My boots crunched over the porch Evan never shoveled. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the new set of keys. Cold metal. Fresh cuts. I slid the key into the lock. It turned without resistance. I kicked the door closed behind me. The air inside was stale, dry rot, old dust, untouched space. My breath fogged as I walked through. Every step echoed. No furniture, no heat, no footprints. I pulled my gloves off and shoved them in my coat pocket. My boots left wet prints on the wood as I stepped into the main room. The hearth was cold, the stones gray with ash and neglect, and there it was propped like a tombstone. That board, that joke. Caleb's Lodge, coming soon. Sloppy red paint, splinters at the edges. Like everything Caleb touched, it had been rushed, loud and hollow. I picked it up, ran my hand across the surface. The wood flaked under my palm. A decade of dreams he never earned, never built, never planned. Just assumed. He'd posted it before a single payment. Called it vision. Told me I wouldn't understand. Told Dad I was just jealous. I snapped it over my knee. The crack rang through the house like a warning shot. Sharp. Clean. Irreversible. I fed the pieces into the fireplace. Laid them on top of old kindlings someone had left behind. Probably him. My fingers shook a little when I struck the match. The first flame sputtered, then caught. Orange licked up the wood slowly, deliberately. The name disappeared first. Caleb's blackened, curled, vanished. I didn't cry. I didn't curse. I just watched. The warmth crept out slowly, timid at first, then bold. It filled the air. The walls softened. The windows stopped feeling like threats. I reached into my coat pocket and touched the deed. It was folded neatly. Freshly signed. One name on it. Mine. Not his. Not Dad's. Not held in trust. Just me. No one could sell this out from under me. No one could mortgage it. No one could list it on some site and call it a family investment. They didn't even know it was mine. Not yet. I walked around the room, taking it in. There were scuffs along the baseboards, a crack in the kitchen tile, a bulb that had blown and never been replaced. But the bones were good. And for once, they belonged to me. I locked the front door. Then I walked to the closet and pulled out the box I had left weeks ago, the one labeled Install. Inside, Deadbolt's camera kits, weatherproof mounts, and a list. Jasmine had double-checked every item. I carried the box into the main room, set it down beside the hearth. The plywood crackled behind me as the flames climbed higher. I took off my coat, hung it by the door, and pulled out the drill. I powered on the laptop. The screen lit up with a low hum. My fingers moved without hesitation, clicking through folders until I found it. The file was still there, untouched. Updated last night. Family expenses, final d'Excel-esque. I opened it. There it was. 29 years of numbers. Debits, withdrawals, transfers, quiet thefts dressed up as family emergencies. First row, $50,000. Dad's business bridge loan. He swore it would be paid back in 6 months. He bought a jet ski. Second row, $12,000. Evan's medical bills. Later, I found out it was to settle a bar fight he started on his bachelor trip. Broken nose, busted window, minor concussion, none of them his. Row after that, $6,000. Emily's home office upgrade after maternity leave. I wired it. She bought a designer stroller and a wine fridge. Line by line, the numbers marched on. I documented everything. Not for them, for me. I needed to see it. Needed proof that I wasn't imagining the drain. The cursor hovered at the bottom of the column. Total, 241, 320, 47. I sat there frozen. Not by the amount, it was never really about the money, but by the silence around it. All those zeros and not a single thank you. They didn't see it as help. They saw it as default, the way a faucet pours when you twist the knob. No hesitation, no cost, no thought. My hand hovered over the mouse still. I hadn't blinked in minutes. My eyes burned. I didn't look away. I switched tabs. Jasmine, final review. The spreadsheet loaded. Different tone, different color scheme, legal notes, timeline columns, email chains printed and scanned. Jasmine had done what I couldn't put emotion aside. She looked at the data like a case file. One transaction at a time, like any other fraud client we'd audited. And that's what it was, not family. Fraud. I scrolled through her notes. Bullet points, recommendations, legal paths, quiet title claim, trust clause citations, sheriff contact, all neatly compiled, double-checked, notarized. She'd told me months ago, you don't need to confront them, you need to cut them off, not with noise, with receipts. I didn't argue, I just kept building the file. I closed the spreadsheet. The fan on the laptop hummed as it cooled. I sat still, my pulse steady, my breath low. Not relief, not grief, just readiness. I stood, walked to the window. The snow hadn't stopped. It layered over everything, roof, porch, gate. Clean, thick, untouched. The perfect cover. I went to the hall closet, pulled out the camera kits, one by one. Then the drill, then the screws. The floorboards creaked as I moved, but I didn't flinch. It was time to finish what I'd started. The alert flashed across my tablet before I heard a sound. Motion detected. Front gate. I didn't move. I didn't reach for anything. I just watched the screen brighten as the camera feed came online. A rental truck rolled into view. Black, oversized. The kind Evan liked because it made him feel bigger than he was. It stopped too close to the porch tires, crunching over fresh snow like it had already been claimed. The driver's door opened first. Dad stepped out. Gregory. Coat pressed, shoulders squared. The same posture he used when he wanted to intimidate a contractor or silence a room. He didn't look around. Didn't take in the land. He walked straight to the door. Evan followed slower, hands in pockets, smiling like he was already inside. A third man climbed out last. Thin, clipboard tucked under his arm. Realtor. I recognized him from the email chain Jasmine flagged weeks ago. He stayed back, eyes darting, pretending not to notice the cameras mounted under the eaves. Dad reached into his pocket. I leaned forward just enough to see the glint of metal. The old key. The one from my apartment in Portland. The spare he never gave back. The one he kept because he never believed I would need a door he couldn't open. He slid it into the lock. It didn't turn. He frowned, twisted harder, jiggled it once, then again. The lock didn't budge. His jaw tightened. Not confusion, annoyance, like the house was misbehaving. Evan laughed, said something I couldn't hear, pointed at the doorframe. Dad pulled the key out and stared at it like it had betrayed him. I sat still on the kitchen floor tablet resting against my knees. My breath stayed slow. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Shallow but controlled. Dad stepped back, walked to the truck. When he came back, the crowbar was already in his hand. Red paint chipped, steel heavy. Familiar. He'd used it once before years ago when he forced open a storage unit he swore was half his anyway. The realtor shifted, took a step back, didn't say a word. Dad wedged the flat end into the seam of the door, pressed his weight forward. The wood groaned. I watched the screws flex. The deadbolt held. For now. Evan leaned against the porch rail like this was entertainment. Like this was inevitable. My chest tightened. Not fear. Recognition. This was who they were when they thought no one was watching. On the tablet screen, the interface stayed calm. Clean, professional, camera angles labeled, timestamps ticking. At the bottom corner, a red square pulsed softly. Panic. Local dispatch only. I rested my finger above it. Not touching. Not yet. The crowbar slipped deeper. The frame cracked with a sharp sound that echoed through the house and into my bones. Dad grunted, adjusting his grip. He didn't hesitate. He never had. I waited, finger hovering, breath steady, watching the lock fight for as long as it could. The door cracked with a final groan. He pushed once more. The deadbolt gave. Wood splintered. The frame snapped open like bone. He stepped in, wiped his boots on my rug. I didn't move. I crouched low behind the kitchen island phone camera, already recording. Not just video, every clip streamed directly to the backup server Jasmine set up. Time-stamped, geotagged, stored beyond their reach. The house went quiet for a second. Then footsteps echoed. Evan's laugh followed. "Look at this," he said, moving through the living room. "She's still using this old couch. We can maybe get $500 for it." I saw him on the screen. He kicked the base of my sectional, the one I bought after my first contract with Treasury cleared. The same couch Evan slept on for a month when his girlfriend threw him out. He had spilled beer on the armrest and never apologized. He pulled a neon sticker sheet from his jacket. Garage sale tags. Slapped one onto my coffee table, another onto the lamp. I stayed still. Recorded everything. Dad was already on his phone. "Yeah, we're in," he said. "Listing goes live in an hour. Cash buyers only. Fast close. Clean it out. Everything personal in the dumpster." He turned, slowly scanning the room like it was merchandise. Not once did he ask where I was. Not once did he hesitate. They thought I was gone, or too weak to fight. I gripped the small ceramic vase behind me, blew, and faded a crack running along the base. My mother's. She gave it to me when I moved into my first apartment. I held it tight, breath shallow, then placed it gently on the floor behind the island. Safe. Evan walked past the fireplace, picked up a framed photo. Me holding him at age 6, his cheeks red from the cold, both of us in matching coats. He turned it, once shrugged, and tossed it onto a box marked MISC. It landed face down. I watched it fall. My hands didn't shake. Gregory moved to the dining area. Spoke low. "We'll say it was abandoned. Nobody's seen her in days. No heat, no groceries, unstable behavior." The realtor hovered near the doorway, silent. I caught his face in the frame, uncertain but unwilling to intervene. They spread through the house like they'd done this before. Like this wasn't trespassing, just cleaning up. The stickers kept landing, bright orange on wood and leather. They were erasing me one object at a time, pretending I had never existed. But the cameras saw. The app recorded. Every sticker, every word, every touch. It wasn't anger I felt. It wasn't even sadness. It was confirmation. I tapped the screen once, highlighted the segment. Saved. The photo of Evan and me slid further down the pile. He reached for the next frame. The crash came fast. Evan knocked over the end table without looking. My mother's vase shattered against the floor. No pause, no apology. Just his voice, flat, dismissive. Cheap, anyway, he muttered. I tapped the screen. The panic button pulsed red once, then went still. Outside the yard lit up like a prison yard. Floodlights snapped on in all four corners of the house: porch, barn, driveway, side gate. Evan froze mid-step. Gregory turned fast, squinting into the light. The realtor stepped back, one hand raised instinctively like he'd walked into something dangerous. I stood up from behind the island. No rush, no sound, just motion. I walked past the broken ceramic, stepped over the rug, and opened the front door. The night air hit me crisp and sharp. Sheriff Miller's cruiser rolled through the gate in perfect silence. No siren, just presence. His door opened before the tires even stopped. Jasmine stepped out behind him, briefcase in one hand, binder in the other. They didn't yell, they didn't ask questions. They already knew. Gregory raised a hand like he was waving off a misunderstanding. There must be some confusion. This is a family property. We have every right. Jasmine walked past him without blinking. She handed the binder to Miller, who flipped it open immediately. I saw the edge of the title printed in clean white letters: Trust Enforcement, Clause 404. Sheriff Miller looked up at me. You okay, Lorraine? I nodded once. He turned back to Gregory. You're trespassing on private property. Recorded entry, forced access, attempted conversion of assets. Evan tried to interrupt. No, wait, this is my mother's place, but she's not been well. We were just— Jasmine stepped between them and laid down the facts. The property was placed in a private trust 3 years ago. Clause 404 grants sole controlling interest to Lorraine Whitfield upon the passing of her father. Deed updated. Access restricted. Violation of this clause triggers automatic enforcement. She opened the binder, showed the notarized documents, highlighted signatures, transfer confirmations, county seals. A copy of the realtor listing Evan submitted last week. Gregory's smile began to fail. Evan looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. I didn't flinch. I stepped out onto the porch. The light above me made no sound. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't point. I just looked at them. I didn't vanish, I said evenly. You just stopped asking where I was. No one answered. The floodlights hummed. Inside the tablet continued recording. Every word, every movement saved off-site, backed up twice. Sheriff Miller reached for his cuffs. Gregory stepped back. Jasmine didn't blink. She flipped the next page, steady as ever. Sheriff Miller raised the page higher under the porch light. Unlawful entry, property damage, attempted fraudulent conveyance. His voice didn't shake. He'd done this before, but not like this. Not for someone like me. Gregory stood still, eyes narrow, jaw, working hard behind clenched teeth. Jasmine stepped closer, calm, certain. She turned to the next page in the binder and tapped it once with her pen. Clause 404, she said. Per the trust, any named party who commits a felony offense involving trust property is permanently disinherited. Immediate and automatic. She looked straight at Gregory. You brought a crowbar. That makes it simple. Gregory's eyes flicked to me. Not pleading. Just furious that I dared outmaneuver him. Evan stammered. This can't be legal. We didn't know. She didn't tell us, you didn't ask. Jasmine said. I stepped forward. Not to speak. To hand over the envelope. It was thick, sealed, labeled with the county clerk's stamp. Sheriff Miller opened it, scanned the front page, and held it up for both men to see. Quiet title ruling, he said. Filed and certified 3 weeks ago. Lorraine Whitfield, sole and uncontested owner. Gregory Whitfield's name is no longer on record. The snow under the cruiser headlights started to melt in small patches. I watched it, not smiling, not celebrating, just standing. Gregory stared at the page like it was a betrayal, like paper had turned on him. "You're making a mistake," he said through his teeth. "This land was meant to be legacy. For Evan. For his children." Jasmine didn't blink. "You're not the legacy, Gregory. You're the liability." The realtor backed away without a word. Got in his car. Drove off without headlights. Sheriff Miller stepped forward. Pulled the cuffs from his belt. Gregory didn't move. He let himself be turned. Wrist by wrist. Metal clicked shut behind his back. Evan's voice cracked as he stepped forward. "Mom?" I didn't turn. Not yet. He kept going. "You don't have to do this. We can fix this. Just say it's a misunderstanding. Just tell them I looked at him." He stopped. "You never called to ask if I was okay?" I said. He opened his mouth, closed it again. The wind moved around us. Miller led Gregory toward the cruiser. Jasmine shut the binder, slid it back into her case, and exhaled once. Not relief, just finality. I stood there watching headlights stretch long across the snow as the car pulled forward. Behind me, the house stayed lit. Evan took a step toward the porch, stopped just short of the first step. "Mom," he said again. His voice was lower this time, less sure. I didn't move. Not yet. I shut the door. No one knocked again. Their taillights disappeared over the ridge, bouncing once where the gravel dips, then gone. Jasmine took off her gloves, folded them into her lap. We sat in the front room, lights off. Only the orange fire cracking inside the stone hearth. No words, just breath. The kind that settles after something loud. She poured coffee from the thermos she always keeps in her car. Set the mug near me. Didn't push it forward, just left it there. I didn't touch it. The wind eased against the window. The snow had started again, soft this time. Quiet. No sharp gusts. Just a steady sift from the dark sky. My phone buzzed once. Then again. I picked it up. "Evan, please. Bail's too high. I didn't know he'd..." "Evan, Mom just talked to me. Evan just helped me fix it. I'll explain." I stared at the screen. No rage, no pain, just stillness. I pressed the button. Blocked the number. Set the phone face down on the table without sound. Across from me, Jasmine nodded once. She didn't say good job. Didn't say sorry. She knew neither fit. We both turned slightly toward the window. The yard, once stormlit by sirens, now bathed in pale white. The porch light still on. Faint shadows stretched across the wooden deck. Something shimmered just under the railing. I leaned forward. The sticker. I'd forgotten we placed it. Blackwood Ridge, LLC. Jasmine registered it 2 years ago. A shell name to hold the deed. Quiet. Legal. Invisible. Managed private asset, it read underneath. I didn't smile, but I breathed. "You did the hard part," Jasmine said, her voice soft, not breaking the room. I shook my head. "No. That was the easy part," I said. "The hard part was waiting." She didn't argue. The logs shifted in the hearth. I watched a piece collapse inward, hollowed now, the flame eating only what hadn't already gone soft. The fire didn't roar. It pulsed. Like a breath. I finally reached for the mug. It was warm. Not hot. Not new. But held in my hand like something that belonged. They never wanted the ranch. Not really. They wanted to be seen owning it. They wanted the photo, the holiday, the plaque. But they never saw the work. Never saw what it cost to keep the pipes from freezing. To balance the account when taxes jumped. To fix the fence after last spring's storm. They had abandoned the kingdom long before they tried to take it. And now it sat silent, waiting for someone who stayed. I fill the kettle. Gas clicks. Flame catches. No rush. No noise behind me. The cabin stays still. No messages. No missed calls, no headlights in the snow. I open the cabinet, pull down the old tin, the one with the chipped lid and fading label. Same coffee my father drank every morning of calving season. Strong, bitter, unforgiving, scoop by scoop. I tamp it into the press. Water boils. I pour slow. The scent rises, sharp, fills the space like cedar used to before it was all burned down. I don't check the time. Steam curls. The wood counter gleams where the sun hits. Same spot he used to set his ledger. Same scratches from the old brass belt buckle when he leaned too far over the books. The press hisses softly. I grab a mug. Not a fancy one. Just white ceramic. Handle worn smooth from years of grip. I tilt the press. Pour. The first drop doesn't spill. My hand is steady. I didn't notice until now. I set the mug down gently. It lands with a weight that isn't heavy. On the table stacked and waiting are the things they thought I'd lost. The deed, the black binder, the lockbox key with the red ribbon. None of it touched since last night. Because it doesn't need to be. They'll get the letters soon. Formal notifications. County filings. Trust updates. Eviction reversal. Court certified. Jasmine had them all sent this morning. There'll be noise later. Complaints, excuses, maybe tears. But not here. Not now. I sit down in the chair. His chair, the one Gregory used to pull out like a throne. The one Evan never asked about. It doesn't creak when I sit. The cushion holds me quiet and full. I lift the mug. It warms both hands. The window glows with a morning that finally doesn't ask anything of me. There's nothing left to say. No grand speech. No shouting match. No, you should have known. Just silence. Real silence. And for once, it's not the absence of something. It's presence. It's mine.